Good evening. My name is Dr. Sonto Khanyile. The title for my article is Proposed Firearm Controls Amendment Bill in South Africa. Is it a solution or an opening of a Pandora's box? Before I proceed with my article, I'd want to acknowledge other authors who contributed immensely to this article, Nqobizwe, Mvelo, Ngema, as well as Prof. T. Matadi. Okay. So what I'm going to be dealing with in my presentation is the introduction. I'm going to be dealing with the theoretical framework. I'm going to be dealing with the literature review. I'm going to be dealing with the impact of the proposed amendment bill, and then as well as the reasoning. And then I'm also going to be dealing with the recommendations. Finally, I'm going to be ending with the conclusions. Introduction. It is submitted that in South Africa has an ugly history of political violence, which was between two political parties, namely ANC and IFP. This violence between the two political parties eventually subsided in the 90s. However, due to this violence, or rather this riot between the two political parties, this left many illegal firearms in the hands of the citizens. Recently, research has shown that in 2017 and 2018, the South African SAPS issued an annual report which indicated that 20,336 people were murdered that year. Furthermore, it also showed that 18,233 persons were victims of attempted murder. This research, or rather this report, indicates that firearms are not only used to perpetuate violent crimes, however, they can also be used for private defense. In South Africa, the legislation, or rather the act that encompasses self-defense, it is regulated by the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000. This act aims to enhance the constitutional right, which is the right to life and the right to body integrity. Also, again, this act also prevents the proliferation of illegally possessed firearms from society. Furthermore, this act removes illegally possessed firearms from society. And again, it also establishes the comprehensive effective system of firearms control management, and to ensure the effective monitoring of enforcement legislation pertaining to the control of firearms. It is submitted that there is a high number of people that possess illegal firearms, and the prevalence of violent crimes in this country keeps escalating on a yearly basis. It can logically be concluded that the Firearm Control Act has failed to achieve its objective. Moreover, the police intervention to reduce violent crimes has proven ineffective. This is enough justification for citizens to continue acquiring firearms for the purposes of self-defense. However, the problem is that criminals and gang, they rob owners who possess guns legally and use these guns to further their criminal activities. To address this problem, the legislature has to propose an amendment to the Firearm Controls Act and introduce a provision. And to address this problem, the legislature has proposed an amendment to the Firearm Controls Act and introduce a provision that will take away the privilege of owning firearms to private defense. What is a theoretical framework that encompasses this study? The theoretical framework in this article is the public policy and regulatory theory. Public policy and regulatory theory examines how the laws, regulations are formulated, implemented, and enforced. It considers the roles of various stakeholders, including government agencies, interest groups, and the public. The implementation of this theory will also assess the policymaking processes behind the proposed Firearms Control Amendment Bill, including the influence of various stakeholders such as law enforcement, guns rights advocates, and the public health organization. Evaluating the potential effectiveness of the bill regulatory mechanism in achieving its intended outcome of reducing gun violence and enhancing public safety. So what is the actual problem with this amendment bill? The actual problem here is the fact that it takes away the privilege of owning firearms for purposes of private defense. In a country where crime is so prevalent, literature review and the critiques of the proposed bill. The critics argue that the bill may disproportionately affect law-abiding citizens while failing to address the root cause of gun violence, such as poverty, inequality. This was submitted by Moyo. There are doubts regarding the government's capacity to effectively implement and enforce the proposed measures, especially given the existing challenges within the law agencies. This was submitted by Smith. The bill's stricter regulations may hinder individuals' rights to self-defense, particularly in a high crime area where citizens feel the need to protect themselves. This was submitted by John, 2020. The proposed Firearms Control Amendment Bill presents a complex interplay of potential benefits and drawbacks. While the aim is to address the pressing issues of gun violence in South Africa, there are valid concerns that it may inadvertently lead to increased criminalization of responsible gun holders and fail to tackle the underlying causes of violence. A balanced approach that considers both public safety and individual rights is essential in an ongoing discourse surrounding firearms regulation in South Africa. Reasons for the proposed amendment. The proposed bill views the easy availability of firearms to citizens as a threat to state security and sustainable development. So it takes away the privilege of owning guns for the purposes of self-defense. So what does this mean? It means that the government wants to take away all the guns from citizens and criminals, thereby making everyone solely dependent on government for protection from violent crimes. The reality of the situation is that the government has tried several times to collect guns by giving the citizens amnesty, those who are owning illegal firearms. Some were prepared to surrender their guns, but mostly did not surrender their guns. Recommendations. It is recommended that South Africa improves firearm regulations, including learning from successful models in countries like Switzerland, adopting best practices, participating in international collaboration for knowledge sharing, launching educational campaigns on firearm safety, reporting, promoting transparent communication about legislative changes, and developing a monitoring mechanism to assess policy effectiveness. Regular reviews and updates of the law strategies based on data evolving needs are also crucial. By implementing these measures, South Africa can achieve a more balanced approach to firearms regulations and to enhance public safety and to address the root cause of violent crimes. Conclusion. The government has proposed an amendment to the current act that regulates the issuing of firearms to citizens for purposes of private defense. The proposed legislation intends to take away the privilege of owning firearms for private defense and then allow the police, the army, the private security industry to own firearms. It is argued that it is not in line with the socio-economic realities. The realities of the situation is that South Africa is one of the most dangerous countries where crime is mostly privileged. Taking away the right to possess firearms will practically assure a preparation for disaster to sustainable development. The government has proven not to be well equipped in many ways to handle crimes by executing its duty, by ensuring a safe society for all. I thank you.